They thought the injection would look like natural causes. I felt the needle pierce my skin while I pretended to sleep. Through half-closed eyes, I watched my son hold the syringe steady as my daughter-in-law whispered, "It's done. The $12 million is ours by Monday." I didn't move. I didn't scream. I barely breathed. 47 years as a pharmacist taught me one thing. Always know what's going into your body. That wasn't my insulin. The burning sensation spreading up my arm confirmed it. Whatever they injected me with was meant to stop my heart and make it look like my diabetes finally caught up with me. A quiet death. A convenient death. A profitable death. My name is Margaret Cole. I'm 67 years old, and 3 nights ago, my only son tried to murder me. I suppose I should start at the beginning, though I'm still processing how it came to this. How the baby boy I held in my arms 39 years ago, the child I worked double shifts to put through college, the man I trusted with power of attorney over my estate, could stand at my bedside with poison and call it mercy. It started 6 months ago when I fell in my garden. Nothing dramatic. I was pruning roses, lost my balance, and fractured my hip. At my age, these things happen. The surgery went well, but recovery was slow. My doctor recommended I have someone stay with me during the healing process, and my son Thomas immediately volunteered. He and his wife Jennifer would move into my house temporarily, he said, just until I was back on my feet. I was grateful. Truly, I was. The house felt too big after my husband Robert passed 2 years ago. The silence echoed in every room. Having family around seemed like a blessing. Thomas had always been attentive. Maybe too attentive. He insisted on managing my medications, organizing my pill boxes, preparing my meals. Jennifer took over the household finances, paying bills, managing accounts. They said it was to help me focus on healing. I thought it was thoughtful. I should have seen the signs. The first red flag came when I noticed Thomas rifling through my home office. I'd gotten up early, unable to sleep, and found him at my desk at 3 in the morning. He startled when I walked in, quickly closing the file drawer. "Just looking for stamps," he said. But my stamps were in the kitchen drawer where they'd always been. The second sign was Jennifer's sudden interest in my pharmacy. I'd built Cole's community pharmacy from nothing 40 years ago. It was thriving when I retired 5 years ago, and I'd kept it running with a capable manager. Jennifer started asking questions. How much was the property worth? Who inherited the business? Could it be sold? "Just curious," she'd say, when I asked why she wanted to know. But the biggest warning came from my accountant, Patricia Hayes. She'd handled my finances for 20 years. She called me 3 weeks ago, concerned. "Margaret, I need to discuss something with you," Patricia said, her voice tight with worry. "There have been some unusual transfers from your investment account, large amounts. Did you authorize these?" I hadn't authorized anything. I asked her to send me the statements. That night, I confronted Thomas. The transfers totaled nearly $80,000. He'd been siphoning money from my accounts for months. He didn't deny it. Instead, he got defensive. "You have $12 million, Mom," he said, voice rising. $12 million. What do you need it all for? You're 67 years old. How much longer are you going to be around anyway? Jennifer and I are drowning in debt. We needed help. You stole from me. I borrowed from my inheritance, he corrected. Money that'll be mine eventually anyway. The coldness in his eyes shocked me. This wasn't my son. Or maybe this had always been my son, and I'd been too blind to see it. I told him I was revoking his power of attorney. I was changing my will, and if another dollar went missing, I was calling the police. He left the room without another word. Jennifer followed, shooting me a look that made my blood run cold. That was 3 days ago. 2 days ago, I started feeling sick, dizzy, nauseated. My heart raced at odd times. I thought it was stress from the confrontation with Thomas. But then I noticed my insulin pen looked different. The cap was slightly loose. The liquid inside seemed cloudier than usual. 47 years as a pharmacist. I know what insulin looks like. I know its consistency, its clarity, its viscosity. This wasn't right. I have diabetes, type 2, managed with diet and medication. I'd been taking the same insulin for 5 years. I knew that medication better than I knew my own reflection. So I did what any suspicious person would do. I didn't inject it. Instead, I drew a sample and took it to my old pharmacy. My manager, David, ran it through the lab. The results came back yesterday morning. The liquid in my insulin pen was contaminated with potassium chloride, a massive dose, enough to cause immediate cardiac arrest, enough to kill me and make it look like my heart simply gave out. David's hand shook when he showed me the lab report. "Margaret," he said, voice barely above a whisper, "someone is trying to kill you." I already knew who. I should have called the police right then. I should have walked straight to the station and filed a report, but I needed more evidence. I needed proof that Thomas was behind this. Because showing up with a contaminated insulin pen would only prove someone had tampered with my medication. It wouldn't prove who. And I knew my son. He'd deny everything. He'd claim I must have accidentally contaminated it myself. He'd paint me as a confused elderly woman, paranoid and senile. No, I needed concrete evidence. So I made a plan. First, I called my lawyer, Harold Brennan. Harold had drafted my will, handled the pharmacy sale, managed my estate planning. I trusted him completely. I told him everything. The stolen money, the contaminated insulin, my suspicions about Thomas and Jennifer. Harold was quiet for a long moment after I finished. "Margaret," he finally said, "I need you to be very careful. If what you're saying is true, if they've already tried once, they'll try again. Especially now that you've confronted them about the money." "I know," I said. "That's why I need your help." We spent an hour on the phone, strategizing. Harold would file emergency paperwork to revoke Thomas's power of attorney. He'd draft a new will, explicitly disinheriting anyone who attempted to harm me. And he'd document everything we discussed, creating a paper trail. "If something happens to me," I told Harold, "I need you to make sure the police see all of this." "Nothing is going to happen to you," Harold said firmly. "But yes, I'll make sure everything is documented." Next, I called a security company. I had cameras installed throughout my house. Bedroom, kitchen, hallways, living room, small, discreet cameras that Thomas and Jennifer wouldn't notice unless they were looking for them. The technician set them up to stream directly to a secure cloud server. Whatever happened in my house would be recorded. Then I waited. I continued my routine as normal. I pretended to take my insulin, disposing of it carefully and replacing it with actual insulin from a fresh pen I'd bought at a different pharmacy. I acted weak, tired, like the contaminated medication might be taking effect. I wanted them to think their plan was working. Thomas and Jennifer grew bolder. They started talking more openly when they thought I was asleep or out of the room. I heard fragments of conversations, plans for renovations they'd make to the house once it was theirs, trips they'd take with the inheritance money, arguments about how to split the $12 million. Jennifer wanted to sell the pharmacy immediately. Thomas thought they should keep it, run it themselves. Neither mentioned me except as an obstacle that would soon be removed. On the third night, I pretended to go to bed early. I told Thomas I was feeling weak, probably just tired. He offered to help me with my insulin injection. I declined, saying I could manage, but I left my bedroom door slightly ajar. I lay in bed, lights off, waiting. I'd hidden my phone under my pillow, set to silent but recording audio. The security cameras were rolling. Around midnight, I heard footsteps in the hallway. The floor creaked outside my door. Through my barely open eyes, I saw Thomas enter my room. He moved quietly, carefully, approaching my bedside. Jennifer followed behind him, hanging back near the doorway. Thomas pulled something from his pocket, a syringe. Even in the dim light, I could see it was pre-filled. This wasn't insulin from my pen. This was something he'd prepared himself. My heart hammered in my chest. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to fight, to run. But I needed this. I needed him to actually attempt it. I needed undeniable proof. He leaned over me, checking to make sure I was asleep. I kept my breathing slow and steady, my eyes closed to slits. Through my eyelashes, I watched him locate the injection site on my arm. He was aiming for a vein, I realized. Not subcutaneous like insulin. This was meant to go directly into my bloodstream. Jennifer whispered from the doorway. "Are you sure about this?" "It's the only way," Thomas replied. "She's changed her will. We're getting nothing. This way, the old will still stands. Everything comes to me. What if they investigate?" "They won't. She's 67 with diabetes and a heart condition. People die, Jennifer. The coroner will rule it natural causes." "Okay," Jennifer said. "Do it." That's when I felt the needle pierce my skin. The injection burned immediately. Whatever was in that syringe was not meant for human bodies. I felt it spreading through my arm, cold fire racing toward my heart. Every muscle in my body wanted to react, to fight, to scream, but I forced myself to stay still, to stay quiet, to let them think they'd succeeded. Thomas withdrew the needle and stepped back. He and Jennifer stood there for what felt like an eternity, watching me, waiting to see if I'd convulse, if I'd stop breathing, if I'd die right there in front of them. "It's done," Jennifer finally whispered. "The $12 million is ours by Monday." They left my room, pulling the door closed behind them. The moment they were gone, I sat up, grabbed my phone, and called 911. My voice shook as I explained what had just happened. The operator kept me on the line, sending police and an ambulance immediately. I told her about the security cameras, about the audio recording on my phone, about everything. Then I called Harold. "They just tried to kill me," I said. "It's all on camera." "Don't move," Harold said. "Police are coming. I'm coming too. Don't let them leave the house, Margaret." I didn't have to worry about that. I heard sirens within 5 minutes. Police surrounded the house. I walked out of my bedroom, down the stairs, and opened the front door to let them in. Thomas and Jennifer were in the kitchen. They looked up in shock when they saw me walking, talking, very much alive. "Mom," Thomas said, face going pale. "I thought you were dying?" I finished. "That was the plan, wasn't it?" The police entered behind me. I handed them my phone with the audio recording still running. I gave them the information to access the security footage. I showed them the syringe Thomas had dropped in the kitchen trash. The color drained from Jennifer's face. "This is a misunderstanding," she started. "Save it for your lawyer," one of the officers said, pulling out handcuffs. They arrested both of them right there. Attempted murder, elder abuse, theft. The charges kept adding up as the officers inventoried everything. The contaminated insulin pen, the doctored financial records. The syringe that, when tested, contained a lethal cocktail of potassium chloride and other chemicals. The paramedics checked me over. Whatever Thomas had injected was meant to be fast-acting and fatal, but the dosage had been miscalculated. I'd need monitoring, but I would survive. My pharmaceutical knowledge had saved my life. I knew the signs of poisoning. I knew to get tested. I knew to document everything. If I'd been anyone else, I'd be dead. The trial happened quickly. With the video evidence, the audio recordings, the lab reports, and the contaminated medications, their lawyers advised them to plead guilty. Thomas got 15 years. Jennifer got 12. They'll be eligible for parole, but that won't be my problem. I'll be long gone by the time they get out, and they won't see a penny of my money. Harold helped me draft a new will. Everything goes to charity now. The pharmacy business, the house, the $12 million in investments. It'll fund scholarships for pharmacy students, support programs for elderly people without family, and help victims of elder abuse. Thomas and Jennifer get nothing. Not 1 cent. I sold the house 3 months ago. Too many bad memories in those walls. I bought a small cottage in Vermont, far from the city, far from the life I knew. It's quiet here. Peaceful. The kind of place where neighbors actually check on each other, where community means something. I volunteer at the local pharmacy 2 days a week. I don't need the money, but I need the purpose. I need to feel useful, and I can help people, especially elderly patients who might not have anyone else looking out for them. I check their medications. I notice when something seems off. I ask questions, because I know now what family can become when money is involved. I know how greed can poison love, how inheritance can turn children into murderers. I think about Thomas sometimes. I wonder if he thinks about me, sitting in his prison cell. I wonder if he regrets it. I wonder if he ever loved me at all, or if I was always just a bank account to him, a number, a payout, an obstacle. I don't hate him. I'm not sure what I feel, honestly. Sadness, mostly. Grief for the son I thought I had, for the relationship I believed we shared. That person never existed. Or maybe he did, once, and greed killed him long before he tried to kill me. I haven't visited him in prison. I don't plan to. Harold handles any legal matters that require communication. Thomas has written me letters. I burn them without reading them. Jennifer's family has reached out, asking me to show mercy, to speak to the parole board when the time comes. I won't. Mercy is what they asked for when they thought I was dying. Mercy is what they expected when they were caught. Mercy is what they don't deserve. Some people might say I'm bitter, that I should forgive, that family is family, no matter what. Those people have never felt a needle pierce their skin while their own child whispers about spending their inheritance money. I'm not bitter. I'm realistic. I'm a survivor. I'm a woman who trusted the wrong people and nearly paid for it with her life, but who was smart enough, prepared enough, and lucky enough to come out the other side. I'm sitting on my porch now, watching the sun set over the green mountains. There's a cup of tea beside me, properly brewed, no contamination. My cat, Winston, is curled up on my lap. I adopted him from the shelter last month. He's 12 years old, gray around the muzzle, a senior cat that nobody wanted. We're perfect for each other. Life is quiet now, simple, safe. I have friends here who know nothing about my past, about the trial, about my son. They know me as Margaret, the friendly pharmacist who volunteers at the drugstore and makes excellent blueberry pie. That's enough. Sometimes I think about what would have happened if I hadn't been a pharmacist. If I hadn't noticed the contaminated insulin. If I hadn't known to test it, to document everything, to protect myself. I'd be dead, and Thomas would be living in my house, spending my money, probably telling people how much he missed his poor mother who died so suddenly. But I did notice. I did know. I did survive. And that, I suppose, is the only happy ending I need. I'm alive. They're in prison. Justice was served. The sun dips below the mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Winston purrs against my chest. Tomorrow, I'll work at the pharmacy, help some elderly patient understand their medication, maybe prevent another family tragedy. Tonight, though, I'm just grateful to be here, grateful to be breathing, grateful that my 47 years of pharmaceutical knowledge saved my life when my own family tried to end it. I take a sip of my tea and smile. It's a good tea, a safe tea, and that's all that matters.